Welcome into another episode of the Matt Report, brought to you by Cobus Insurance Center. I'm Sean Bennett from the Chronicle Telegram, being joined this week by Mike Deanna, my special co-host. Most people know Mike from his excellent days as a wrestler, as a competitor, as a coach, but he is also one of our longtime sponsors on this show, on the weekly radio show, and in the Chronicle's preview section. So obviously I want to start by thanking you for all that you've done for the sport and helping us expand the coverage. It's obviously great to have you here.
Thanks, Sean. It's my pleasure to be involved.
All right. Well, as we do every week, we'll start with the top three performances. The top three performances this week, we had dual tournaments, we had regular tournaments. We're going to start with a couple guys from the West Holmes Invitational. John Perry of Avon Lake. He went 5-0 with 4 pins to capture the 138-pound championship out there at West Holmes. Perry, he's the number 4 seed. He pinned the number 3 seed, Preston DeMarco, who's a district qualifier from Buckeye, in the semifinals. And then he beat Indian Creek's Dominic Patera 3-1 in ultimate tiebreaker in the final. So nice tight match to finish. 4 pins up to get into the final. Pretty excellent performance from John Perry of Avon Lake. And you might have gotten to see him, I guess, maybe at the Avon Lake tournaments and stuff like that in the past. He's one of the D1 guys. So Nick Hickman of Keystone, another guy, 4-0 with 4 pins to capture the 182-pound championship at West Holmes. He pinned Indian Creek's Aiden Minchik and West Holmes' John Sayers in the first period to get to the semifinals. Then pinned Medina Highlands' Noah Robinson in the second period in the semifinals, and then pinned Indian Creek's Gavin Donzilla at 112 in the final. So pinned his way all the way to a championship. You can't ask for much better than that.
Right.
And wrap it up, North Ridgeville's Zach Orseno. He went 5-0 with a pin, 2 tech falls, and a major decision to win the 113-pound championship at the Audrey Genovese Memorial at Pepper Pike Orange this weekend. He didn't allow a point in his last 2 matches. He won 15-0, a tech fall against Cardinals' Mike Wojcik in the semifinals, and then won 9-0, a major decision against Bedford's Jacob Barrett in the final. So dominating performances from those 3 guys this week. Obviously, nice-looking performances. Takes you back to your days as a wrestler, I'm sure.
Right. They're doing a lot of pinning, and that's what get the crowd to their feet every time.
Right, and obviously gets the bonus for the teams in the team race. So, and all these teams did very well this weekend. So, our top 3 performances again, that's John Perry of Avon Lake, Nick Hickman of Keystone, and Zach Orseno of North Ridgeville. Well, we're on to probably your favorite segment of the show, My Favorite Move, brought to you by Century 21 Deanna Realty. You obviously probably are familiar with the segment. It seems like it's gotten great response since we started it last year. Your thoughts on just some of the guys that have done it?
It's a lot of fun to share what you do best and what you love, and when these kids do it, it really helps them learn the move even more as they teach it to their friends and other people watching.
All right. Well, this week's My Favorite Move is going to be Avon's Mason Bingham. He's the heavyweight out there at Avon. He's going to show us the underhook to a high crotch takedown. Kind of a bigger guy's bread and butter, I'm guessing. A good move for the bigger weight guys.
Typically it is. They work on the over-under position quite a bit, collar ties, 2-on-1s. So this should work out really well for most of the guys his size.
Okay. Well, without further ado, we're going to show you My Favorite Move with Avon's Mason Bingham, brought to you by Century 21 Deanna Realty.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Mason Bingham. I'm a junior here at Avon. I wrestle heavyweight, and the move today I'm going to be showing you is the underhook to high crotch. So here we go. I'll do full speed real quick. So, I mean, basically how I set it up, since I'm I'm a lighter heavyweight and I'm so quicker, I like to kind of wrestle at a distance. And so, if I have this wrist here, I'll ride this wrist up, and then get this underhook, and then I'm gonna bring this leg towards me, circle a little bit, bring that leg towards me. It's gotta be quick, or else it's gonna bite down to this underhook. So then I gotta come in, I'm gonna pass that over me, and switch off. Finish. So I'll do it one more time full speed.
So obviously, pretty smooth move. What are your kind of analysis on Mason?
What I liked best was how he got into the underhook. A lot of guys will pull the head down with a collar tie, take their left hand under the underhook. What I liked was how he pulled the wrist down and it opened the elbow up to get enough space in there for his underhook. I really liked that part of his move. He made the guy step into him, shot a great shot, deep penetration, and then dove across. I will say one thing: if he does a fake dump before he drives across, he'll have more success with it. The guy will be off balance.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, the thing I was really impressed with is just how articulate he is. I think coaching is in his future. I mean, you've seen these segments before, and he really went to the trouble to explain things in detail, how to set up that move. I was like, I think that one ran about 15 seconds longer than normal because he was so in depth with his, basically his breakdown step by step. So
Right.
that was really good.
Yeah, as we spoke earlier, as they teach that move to their friends and show it to other people, they actually learn the move even better,
Right.
and that's why.
All right. Well, again, that was my favorite move with Avon's Mason Bingham, brought to you by Century 21 Deanna Realty. All right, our next segment, kind of a specialty for you. We call it College Scene. That's what I called it. We're going to talk about college wrestling. I know that's kind of a favorite thing of yours. I've got to cover the NCAAs in the past. I've got to cover some Ohio State dual meets in the past, so I definitely like it. I'm probably certainly nowhere close to as in-depth with the information that you are, but let's start with the Big Ten. Obviously, it's been the premier conference for several years now, and right now we have so many teams in the top 25. Iowa at the top of the list at number 1. They're undefeated at 7-0 right now. Penn State right behind them at 6-1, ranked number 2. Ohio State 7-1, ranked number 4. Then you got Nebraska, Wisconsin, Purdue, Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, Michigan, all in the top 25. Your kind of thoughts on this conference? I know you're familiar with it. You went to Iowa. Your team, your alma mater's on top. You're going. You already told me you're going to see Iowa Penn State duel coming up here in a little bit. How excited are you when it comes to Big Ten wrestling?
Oh, it's fantastic. I do go to the Big Ten tournament every year. It's a mini NCAAs. It's a short 2-day period, and from round 1, they're battling. A lot of upsets. It's a fantastic little tournament, and I just love watching the Big Ten wrestling.
Obviously, some other things college-wise, some locals. We've got locals in a lot of them. Obviously, Ohio State, we already mentioned. St. Edward grad, and Avon resident Cade Hepner's there. Princeton, ranked number 17 in the nation right now. Elyria grad Josh Breeding on their roster. Army West Point's ranked number 19. Pioneers grad J.T. Brown on that roster. And Stanford's ranked number 22. And obviously we know former All-American Elyria grad Ben Darmstadt on that roster. It's got to be kind of nice when you go to the NCAAs, which I know you do, to see some of those guys that are from our area that used to kind of excel here in our local high schools.
It's very enjoyable. I think Hepner's is he going to go to Ohio State?
Yes. Bryce, the younger brother.
The younger brother. Ohio State's, they have a great team. I was out there last Friday watching Ohio State at Iowa, and Ohio State has a really tough team. They're ranked, I think, 3 maybe right now, depending on which ranking. And Iowa won like 7 of the 10 matches. But they have a lot of Ohio kids. They're going to pick up another one, and I like watching guys like Darmstadt. Darmstadt, to me, is really skilled, came out of Elyria. I think if he put more weight on it, he could be the NCAA champ at heavyweight. I don't know if he can put that much weight on, but he's a tough kid.
And then obviously some other ranked teams that will be locals on in the future. Pittsburgh's ranked number 10 right now, and obviously Elyria senior Mick Burnett's headed there next year. Rutgers ranked number 22. Elyria senior Dylan Schaver's committed to that program. So it's kind of nice because it seems like there's probably 10 to 12 teams in the top 25 that are going to have Lorain County wrestlers on them. That seems kind of insane, but that's what makes this area so great.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal for one county. They should be proud of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to kind of just a talk with you. Obviously, I think a lot of people know who you are and know what you've done, but for those who don't, who maybe are a little bit newer to wrestling and stuff like that, let's just talk about some of your history with wrestling. Starting with high school, you were 3-time Ohio high school state champion at Bay. That back when that was still a pretty relatively new thing. I know nowadays you see a lot of 3-timers, 4-timers on the wall in the tunnel down there at Ohio State, but when you did it, it was a short list.
It wasn't as common. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. There wasn't as much movement with student athletes changing schools. There wasn't as much recruiting. So you developed your own local teams, and now we have, I don't want to say all-star teams, but we have some really good teams that have open enrollment, and that eliminates some of the opportunity for for local teams who are doing a good job. I also, back then there was 2 divisions, so 2 tournaments, and now there's 3. So a lot of things have changed, but the kids coming out now are really hard workers. They're really dedicated, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah. During the 3 state title years, you went 83-0 between 1974 and 1976. Overall in your high school career, 104, 5-1. Obviously now it seems like that's like 110 matches. It seems like guys are getting that in 2 or 3 years anymore. Does it seem like they're wrestling a lot more than what you wrestled back when you were wrestling?
Well, I think the difference now is they're going to more quads and some tournaments, and we didn't do that. We focused more on dual meets, which I actually think was more fun for the fans. The grandparents and the parents don't want to sit at a tournament for 12 hours, so I do think it was a lot of fun for them. It didn't matter to me. We just loved wrestling, so we would have maybe 25 matches a year.
The one, how do you get the one mark? I saw that in your record. How do you get a tie in wrestling?
104.51. Yeah, we used to tie. You could go overtime, which back then was not sudden death.
Okay.
It was a full match. It was like a 1-1-1 full match, top, bottom, neutral. And if it was still tied, both guys got their hand raised, and each team got 2 points.
Oh, that's crazy. That's cool. But the 83-0, 3 straight years undefeated. How exciting is that, and how much pressure does it get as that record keeps going and you get this crazy unbeaten streak running?
You're kind of in the moment. I didn't really think about it. Again, I just love wrestling, so for me, I was just going out there and love to be challenged by other kids. So I really didn't think about that, and still don't. I personally, I just like wrestling.
I assume you were, high school's folk style, and it's great, and college, but I assume you're a huge freestyle advocate. You won a couple of freestyle national championships while at Bay. You won a couple of freestyle national championships after college, 1983 and 84. You were an alternate on the 1984 U.S. Olympic team. Freestyle wrestling, I assume, is close to your heart.
I've always enjoyed it, and I've always been better at takedowns, so it kind of played into my hand. But either way, again, I just like to support the local kids wrestling, and I just love wrestling. So to be able to share that with other people is my joy.
Yeah. You say you go to the Big Tens every year. We know why. You were, like I said, you went to Iowa. You were a 4-time NCAA All-American, 4-time Big Ten champion, 2-time national finalist. That's something you just don't see a lot. That's a very small amount of people who are able to kind of put those kind of credentials. How amazing was it just wrestling in college and kind of doing some of the things you were able to do?
Yeah, it was great for me. I picked the University of Iowa to attend, and what a crowd, fan base they have. It's crazy, and to share that with those people. They welcomed me into their community, and it's still going today. I'll be out again this coming weekend. I was out last weekend. I have season tickets for many years, and at the time, I'll say this: I was maybe the 5th 4-time Big Ten champ in history when I did it, and that was many, many years ago. And a local guy, Jim Heffernan from North Olmsted and St. Ed's, he won it 4 times. So we have 2 local guys that have won it 4 times, and there's not very many. There's maybe a dozen in the history of the Big Ten. So Heffernan's one of those guys.
That's awesome. And then let's talk post-college. You went on to become the head coach at Edinboro. You led Edinboro to 5 top 10 finishes in the 6 years you were there. You were named the NCAA Division II Coach of the Year in 1986. You were also inducted in the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame in 2000. Just some great moments after your competitive days were over. You're still obviously well involved in wrestling, just through dealing with us and things like that. I see it at matches all the time. It's not like after you got off the mats, it kind of went away. You stuck with the sport.
Yeah, you don't lose your love of the sport. It just doesn't work. There's no on-off switch. So I still enjoy supporting local teams. I sponsor high school teams, college teams, scholarships, a lot of things like that. I never say no to wrestling, and it's good for the kids.
And you were a young coach, obviously. You went right from competitive right into Edinboro. How fun was that, and what all that involved?
It was rather unique because I was in my early 20s, so I was maybe 5 years older than the seniors, and it was very unique because I was maybe the youngest Division I head coach in the country at the time. And so I was very close with the kids. My wife and I would have them over. We'd have them over for dinner. They'd babysit our kids. Tony, who works for me now for over 15 years, they would babysit Tony. And we were really a close-knit family. But at the same time, there's some down things. I wasn't very good at the political scene, the unions, the professors. I wasn't very good at that. I was too young, really, to enjoy that.
Yeah.
So, but the important thing was my relationship with those guys at Edinburgh University is still ongoing today. I hear from them all the time, and I go watch their teams wrestle, and I sponsor their sons wrestling now, and it's just a real joy.
There's a couple local guys on the roster right now from Brookside, Anthony Chambers and Colin Wolford, so it's nice. And I know, was it one of the, Chris Honeycutt, I believe, from St. Edward, North Ridgeville resident, went out there and wrestled, I believe, as well. So it's stayed in our radar there, our local radar. So
right, and I know St. Ed's has been struggling to beat Erie Cathedral Prep, and that head coach is Mike Hassett. He was my first Division II NCAA champ. He's now taken over that program, and they finished third in the state last year in PA. They have a real tough team.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you really coming on the show this week. Again, Mike Deanna is from Century 21 Deanna Realty, so if you have any realty needs, I mean, they got a huge team. I've seen the ads. You guys got a lot of people working there. They will take care of you and anything you need, so thanks again for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Sean.
All right. Well, thank everybody else. Thanks to Kristen and Bruce behind the camera. And most of all, and thanks to obviously our sponsors, Cobos Insurance Center, Century 21 Deanna Realty, and most of all, thanks to you, the listener or the viewer, for showing up this week.